This sermon comes with a disclaimer. This is not a sermon about work-life balance. It was downright depressing when I Googled finding your life balance, and virtually every search return was about work-life balance, as if that's the only kind of balance that matters. So sometimes when I'm talking to folks from outside this church, particularly folks who attend traditional Christian churches, they ask me what we do on Sundays, what our services look like, what we talk about. If we have so many varied beliefs, what do we do at church? So I try to explain, and I give a few examples of the kinds of things we share in worship. And a lot of the time I get the response, doesn't sound like church to me, which is perfectly fine. There are many paths to the holy. But this might be one of those Sundays to which I might expect that response. Because so often we forget, or at least so often we have to remind ourselves that the lives that we live are not separate from our faith and spirituality. In fact, for Unitarian Universalists, this is particularly true. We believe that our lives are one of the many texts from which we draw meaning, sustenance, and comfort. A few weeks ago in worship, I shared one of my favorite UU quotes as our call to worship from Sophia Lyon-Foz, who says, "Life becomes religious whenever we make it so." Our lives are our sacred text and are living a holy offering to whatever it is that animates and motivates. Life becomes religious whenever we make it so. And we celebrate that these sacred texts are living documents in every sense of the word. Our lives are lived in manuscript mode, still being written and to some extent edited. So think of this as a workshop. You know, they say if you're a carpenter, every problem is a nail, and every solution is a hammer. And I guess when you're a poet, every solution is a writing workshop. So think of this as a workshop on your life's manuscript. If church were a workshop, the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed, a fantastic UU minister and author, would be one of the teachers in the master class. We have some of his words as a reading in the back of our hymnal, which begins, "The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice." So while finding balance in your life might not strike some as adequately church-like, I think we know better. How we live is a sacred matter. It is both ultimate and consequent, meaning that it is intertwined with whatever matters most to us, whatever is our ultimate concern, and a place that we make meaning, a place where we decide what matters. So how we live is a sacred matter, as surely as the world is a cathedral. And how we meet our own needs and balance our own living is part of how we bring this sacred text to life. The interconnectedness within the self, which you can see if you look at that pie with its many pieces, the interconnectedness within the self is an echo of the interconnectedness of each to each and of each to all. And seeking that which benefits the interior life is interconnected with the work we do in the world, seeking the benefit of all in creating a more just and compassionate community, society, and world. Last week, I had the privilege of joining the summer youth group, Your Space, which meets on Sunday evening. And the conversation turned to the question of how we could be better allies to people of color. My two-word response, because I was reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, is constant vigilance, to quote Mad-Eye Moody. But what I meant by that was that we begin by noticing, by paying attention. That's our superpower. When notice spurs us on, we begin to learn better, to notice more, and then to do better. And this also applies to being a better ally for yourself. When you begin by noticing, which is what the activity I talked about earlier is designed to do, when you cultivate the habit of noticing, of awareness, the possibilities grow, both for learning better and doing better, not just for those around us, but for ourselves as well. I want to end with a quote from Arthur Graham, who says, "Each of us is an artist whose task it is to shape life into some semblance of the pattern we dream about. The molding is not of self alone, but of shared tomorrow and time we shall never see. So let us be about our task. The materials are very precious and perishable."